The 50C and T.I. war spilling into their families, and now threatening to bring up old legal cases has set tongues wagging on the internet. 50 Cent is now teasing a documentary, Music, that could put T.I. and Tiny's past under a lens. And King Harris is right in the middle of it all. So let us look at what happened between 50 Cent, T, and King Harris, and how all of this connects. To understand how he got here, you have to go back, music to verse. 50 Cent and T.I.'s long-simmering beef finally boiled over thanks, music, to a versus that never happened. Diss tracks and more. Verse was seemingly invented to settle beefs, not start them. The foundation of today's feud was laid during the CO-19 music pandemic when T.I. repeatedly called out 50 for a battle. But the Gunnet mogul didn't pay Tip much attention and scoffed at his requests. Now, fast forward to 2026. Tensions were raised in February when versus became a topic of discussion once again. Music. After T.I. joined $1 million worth of game on Feb and 2, and verse came up once again, but this time around the trap pioneer provided music context, claiming that he and 50 Cent discussed battling before the public back and forth. While the duo was traveling around Hollywood locking in TV film deals, Tip said that 50 seemed interested behind closed doors and participating in a verse, but sang a different tune on social media. Music, which made T lose respect for Fifth. T did not hold back. He laid out music what happened. He said they talked about it in private. They were moving around together. Music, he said 50 Cent agreed. And then when it came time to go public, 50 acted like he did not know what T was talking about. That is what set music the whole thing off. T.I. explained on $1 million worth of game that the matchup wasn't to pit them against music each other. He said it was about celebrating each other's catalog. He said he and 50 Cent talked about this, that he didn't call music him out of the blue, and that they were moving around in Los Angeles selling some shows together. According to the rapper, the two came to an agreement for the verse, music, and T was supposed to mention it publicly, but when he did, he alleges Fifth acted confused. That is the breaking point, right? Music there. T felt played. He felt like 50 agreed to something behind closed doors and then pretended it was never discussed. And for a man who calls himself the king of the South, that music kind of move is personal. Now, the rivalry between T and 50 Cent dates as far back as the early to mid-2000s music, when 50 Cent implied that T was a snitch on a track. From there, the relationship between the duo, music, has been rocky ever since. So, this is not new tension. This is tension with a history that stretches back nearly 2 decades. The Verzu situation simply ripped the scab off a wound that never fully healed. The beef first began way back in 2006 when both rappers were debatably music at their peak. While it never kicked off, there were definite signs of them not liking each other. Music, they would take shots in interviews. They would make slick comments on songs, but it never reached a point of full-blown war. They eventually settled things privately, or at least that is what everyone thought. But the Verzu situation brought it all back. And this time it went further than anyone expected. The What You Know rapper statement lit a fire under the Into Club rapper, and things between them got ugly on social media, due to 50 Cent doing what he does best, trolling celebs with below-a-belt memes and pictures. 50 Cent did not go to the booth. He did not music drop a diss track. He went to Instagram, and his target was not just T. It was T.I.'s family. 50 Cent dragged T.I.'s wife, escaped singer Tiny, into this beef, and that brought out T.I.'s children, who had lots to say about 50 Cent's childhood and deceased mother. Music, that is where this whole thing turned into something else entirely. Once the family was involved, the rules changed. T was not just fighting for himself anymore. Music, he was fighting for his wife, and his sons were not going to sit on the sidelines. T.I. has moved on from his 50 Cent feud after peppering the Gunnet rapper with a handful of diss tracks last week, all of which went unanswered. Tip stopped by the Ebro Laura Rosenberg show on Tuesday, March 3rd, where he discussed a plethora of topics surrounding the beef with 50, including his kids' involvement. T dropped multiple records. He released tracks called War and The Right One. He did not hold back in any of them. As far as rapping goes, This has been a totally one-sided feud, as T.I. has been relentless in stacking 50 Cent diss tracks, while 50 has opted for social media fodder and trolling instead of heading to the booth. So T.I. is rapping. 50 Cent is posting memes, and the Harris kids are preparing to jump in. This is where King Harris becomes a factor. King is the son of T and Tamika Tiny Harris. He has been in the public eye since he was a child. Viewers first saw him on the family's reality show. He was a standout even as a kid, but growing up in front of the cameras brought problems. For fans, King Harris has always been a familiar face. Viewers first met him as a playful, bold little boy on reality TV. His quick wit, mischievous energy, and fearless personality made him a standout among the Harris children. He was funny, charismatic, and unforgettable. But as he grew older, that same boldness transformed. By his teenage years, the headlines about King weren't about his talents or achievements, but about his temper. Viral clips showed him arguing with strangers, lashing out during Instagram lives, and boasting about toughness in ways that worried fans. King grew up wanting to prove something. One family friend shared that he didn't want to be molded by anybody. He wanted to prove to the world he wasn't just T.I.'s son. He wanted to live wild, speak loud, and show he was tougher than his background. That mentality is what led to his public incidents. In September 2022, Harris was involved in a verbal altercation at a Waffle House in Atlanta that drew public attention after a video of the incident surfaced online. His parents later addressed the incident publicly, defending their son while acknowledging the challenges of growing up in the spotlight. That was one of the first signs, but it was not the last. In November 2023, Harris was involved in a widely publicized argument with his father, T.I., during a live-streamed family event. The dispute began during an Atlanta Falcons football game, where Harris appeared on Instagram Live while arguing with both of his parents about his upbringing. He claimed he had been raised primarily by his grandmother rather than in luxury, a statement that T and Tama Tiny Harris disputed in real time. Now think about that for a moment. King is on a live stream arguing with his parents, telling the world that he was not raised with a silver spoon. His father is right there, telling him otherwise, and the whole internet is watching. That is the environment King Harris has been living in. Constant scrutiny, every argument, every mistake, all of it in public. And then, when 50 Cent came for his mother, King was not going to stay quiet. 50 Cent appeared to respond by posting an unflattering image of T.I.'s wife, Tamika Tiny Harris, captioned, "I keep saying, keep my name out your mouth, okay?" And then he followed it up with another post. 50, of course, didn't let it slide, but he didn't really entertain it either. Basically, he shared photos of King with his mom, writing, "God don't like ugly." That crossed the line for King. King Harris jumped into the equation to leap to his mother's defense, and rightfully so. However, since family was fair game, Harris decided to take it further by targeting 50's late mother. King went on Instagram and said things that made the whole internet react. He referenced 50 Cent's mother, who passed away when 50 was 8 years old. He told 50 to dig her up. He was not subtle about it. He was direct and raw. Then King went a step further. King Harris dropped his own song and video, which features him wearing a t-shirt that features the face of 50's mother. Rick Ross, who has his own issues with 50 Cent, encouraged it. Rick Ross hopped in the comments and wrote, "Need Dad T and 3X Lil Bro." The trap pioneer admitted that he felt things went too far in his war with 50 Cent. When King Harris posted a photo of himself wearing a Rick Ross-approved t-shirt featuring 50's late mother, who passed away when he was just 8 years old, T.I. himself acknowledged that this crossed a line. He did not want his children involved. He did not want his sons dragging a dead woman's name into a rap beef. But by the time he spoke up, the damage was done. The long-running tension between 50 Cent and T has taken on a generational dimension. This is no longer just about two rappers from two different cities. This is about families. King Harris was already dealing with problems before the 50 Cent beef. His legal history tells its own story. King Harris, the son of music industry legends T and Tiny, has recently sparked a lot of debate online after being arrested. That was in August 2022 when King first ran into trouble with the law. On Wednesday, Agor 31, Harris shared on social media that he'd been arrested. His mug shot was posted online, and he later hopped on Instagram to give his side of the story. Harris faced even more backlash when social media users discovered he was reportedly taken into custody for the minor traffic violation of not wearing a seatbelt. People online were not sympathetic. They saw a kid born into wealth and privilege choosing to live recklessly. His own father spoke on it. "If he keep this bite up, his eyes going to prison." The Atlanta rapper said during an Instagram live, "Ain't no way around it. Ain't nothing I'ma be able to do about it." He saw the path his son was on. He said he recognized that energy because he lived it himself. He describes Harris as a good kid chasing after the wrong side. Music, but the warnings did not stick. King was charged in August 2022 with speeding, knowingly driving a motor vehicle on a suspended license, and driving under the influence of drugs. In September 2024, there was an arraignment notice returned and a bench warrant issued. King did not show up to court. That led to a failure to appear warrant. And then came October 2024. The hip-hop star's son recently found himself on the wrong side of the law after nearly colliding with a patrol car. The incident reportedly occurred in Dunwee, Georgia on Monday, October 14th. According to the arresting officer's incident report, King almost hit his police cruiser while pulling out of a gas station. The officer pulled him over. When the officer approached the car, they could smell the odor of marijuana coming from it. Officers said they detected the odor of marijuana and found Harris carrying a firearm on his hip, which was removed without incident. After they ran his records, they noticed Harris had a warrant out for his arrest. He had one stemming from 2022 revolving around speeding, driving with a suspended license, and a DUI. It was issued after King didn't appear in court. The officer described the arrest in the incident report. "Mr. Harris was cooperative, and I removed the firearm from his hip with no issue. I then had Mr. Harris step out of the vehicle, and I detained him by placing handcuffs on him. I escorted Mr. Harris to my patrol vehicle, conducted a pat-down, and placed him into the rear of my vehicle." Harris was arrested and taken to the DeKalb County Jail. King was taken to jail in January of 2023 on 4 charges after he refused to comply with the police who requested a blood test. Music, so this was not his first arrest. By the time the October 2024 incident happened, King already had a pattern. Son of T.I. King Harris was arrested in Georgia in 2024 after having an open warrant for his arrest stemming from a 2022 case, and all of this was happening at a complicated time. Weeks later, King and the mother of his child brought a son into the world in November. He also dropped a song titled "Dear Son" dedicated to his baby boy. King was about to become a father while dealing with warrants, arrests, and legal trouble. His music career as Kid Scion was gaining some traction, but the headlines about his personal life kept overshadowing his art. Harris began pursuing music under the stage name Kid Scion in 2020, experimenting with trap music and melodic hip-hop through his initial singles. He followed with an EP in 2021, marking his transition from reality TV personality to recording artist. T tried to steer him. He confronted King about waving guns in music videos. The King of the South, Music, even chastised King in a viral video of a young rapper waving a gun during a music video shoot. King defended himself, stating that it wasn't illegal to have a gun, to which his father said, "Well, in the manner in which you portraying this lifestyle, this musics don't look legitimate, sir." T knows this road. He walked it himself, and he has been trying to keep his son off it. Here's where T.I.'s past becomes relevant, because when 50 Cent talks about putting T behind bars, he is referencing a history that is well documented. T.I. is not a stranger to the legal system. He has lived inside of it for years. In 1998, he was arrested and convicted in Georgia for distribution of cocaine, manufacturing, and distributing a controlled substance, music, and giving authorities a false name. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison. That was the beginning. T served his time and came out determined to build a career. He did. He became one of the top rappers in the country. But in 2007, everything fell apart again. On October 13th, 2007, federal authorities arrested Harris 4 hours before the BET Hip Hop Awards in Atlanta. He was charged with 2 felonies, possession of 3 unregistered machine guns and 2 silencers, and possession of firearms by a convicted felon. Harris was caught in a federal sting after his bodyguard turned informant delivered 3 machine guns and 2 silencers to him. Prosecutors said the rapper had provided the bodyguard with $12,000 to buy the weapons. He had faced a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine for each charge in his 3-count indictment. But T.I. did not get 10 years. T.I. was sentenced in Atlanta federal court to 1 year and 1 day in prison. In order to pay a $1,300 fine on weapons charges related to purchasing machine guns and silencers. That gap between the maximum sentence and what T.I. actually received is music, what fueled the allegations. Arrested for attempting to buy machine guns and silencers, T.I. struck a plea deal, serving only a year despite facing up to 10 years. 50 publicly labeled Tip a snitch and accused him of cooperating with authorities. That was the original source of friction between 50 and T. 50 Cent believed that the math did not add. Music up, 10 years reduced to 1 year. In 50's view, that meant cooperation with the government. To them, T.I. getting sentenced to 1 year in prison for getting set up in a sting, buying several guns with silencers was a clear indicator that he had snitched and cooperated with authorities. T.I. denied this. His supporters pointed out that he completed extensive community service, got endorsements from public figures, and negotiated a plea deal that was unusual, but not impossible. For his court hearing, Harris's attorneys submitted more than 100 letters from officials who thanked him for his community service since the weapons arrest. One of the letters was from Georgia Supreme Court Chief Justice Leah Ward Sears, who said Harris did an outstanding job talking to a group of teenagers about not breaking the law, but the snitch label stuck, and 50 Cent has used it for years. Then T.I. went back to prison again. He was arrested again in September 2010 in Los Angeles on drug charges after authorities said he was found with 4 ecstasy pills. He was sentenced on October 15, 2010 to 11 months in prison for violating the terms of his probation, specifically for possessing ecstasy, testing positive for opiates, and associating with a convicted felon. Music, so T.I. went to prison twice. He served time on 2 separate occasions. And all of this history is what 50 Cent keeps bringing up, not to mention the sexual assault allegations. The allegations involving T and Tiny gained major public attention in 2021. Soon after, several women and 1 man came forward with claims that the couple drugged, intimidated, kidnapped, or sexually assaulted them in California and Georgia. T and Tiny have repeatedly denied those allegations. Music, these are the allegations 50 Cent now wants to explore in documentary form. And that is where this whole thing escalates beyond a rap beef. Now we arrive at the present. 50 Cent is once again stirring headlines after revealing he is working on a documentary titled Surviving T and Tiny. The announcement came with a blunt warning directed toward the Atlanta couple. You might want to talk to a crisis PR person, he wrote, a message that immediately lit up social media and reignited discussion around his increasingly toxic feud with T.I. Remember how quiet I got before the Diddy Do? Dame thought I wasn't coming. I hope this doesn't mess up your promo tour. They're going to ask about your 20 sexual assault cases. That is a direct threat. 50 Cent is drawing a line between what he did with the Diddy documentary and what he plans to do with T.I. and Tiny. 50 Cent executive produced the now infamous Netflix docu-series Sean. Music combs the reckoning that sent shockwaves through pop culture at the end of 2025. That documentary damaged Diddy in ways that social media alone could not. It gave structure and credibility to allegations that have been floating around for years. And now 50 is suggesting he will do the same thing to Music T.I. After helping produce a Netflix docu-series about the abuse allegations surrounding Music Diddy, 50 Cent appears ready to shine a similar spotlight on T and his wife Tiny. The rumored project would reportedly explore past allegations tied to the couple. Music, T responded to the documentary threat. T has since responded to 50's threat and the shade on the new song. He wrote, "We could go bar for bar, hit for hit, music or doc for doc." T is not backing down. He is challenging 50 to match music, him on every front. Bars, music, and even documentaries. He expressed how he didn't want to engage, but could not defend his family. Speaking to TMZ, he said, "Man, that student so last week, man. The only thing I have to say, it's very unfortunate, but honestly, music, I wasn't here to defeat. I was here to defend." Meanwhile, 50 Cent has made it clear he has no plans to jump back into a rap battle. He is not going to the booth. He is not recording diss tracks. He is using his platform as a producer and a media figure to apply pressure from a completely different angle. And that is what makes this situation so dangerous for the Harris family. 50 Cent is not fighting this like a rapper. He is fighting this like a media executive. He did music it with Diddy. He did it with other targets over the years. He takes personal conflicts and turns them into content. And if that content takes the form of a documentary exploring decades-old sexual assault allegations, the consequences for T and Tiny could be severe. Regardless of whether those allegations were proven in court or not, T.I. and his wife Tama Tiny Harris have previously denied allegations related to past accusations, and several lawsuits tied to those claims have since been dismissed. But 50 Cent is betting that a documentary can do what court music cases cannot. He is betting on public opinion. He is betting on the power of storytelling. And given what happened with the Diddy Project, that is not a bet anyone should dismiss. For King Harris, this puts him in an impossible position. Music, he already has his own legal problems. He already made things worse by bringing up 50's music deceased mother. And now the man he went to war with is threatening to make a documentary, music, about his parents. King is 21 years old, a new father himself with arrest records and warrants and diss tracks on his resume. And the fight he jumped into is now bigger than anything he music can control. The story of King Harris isn't just a celebrity scandal. It's a reflection of bigger issues. The pressure of growing up famous, music, the blurred lines of privilege and responsibility, and the struggle of parents trying to protect children in a world that wants to music watch them fail. T warned King. He told him that the path he was on would lead to prison. He said he recognized the energy because he was that energy once. And music now, with 50 Cent threatening a documentary with legal cases still hanging over King's head, and with the Harris family name trending for all the wrong reasons, those warnings feel heavier than ever. T has had his own dealings with the law, including arrest for drug and weapons convictions, and even served time in prison. So, it's no surprise he's trying to derail his son to make better choices than he did at that age. The question now is whether 50 Cent actually follows through. Whether the documentary is officially in development remains unclear, but 50 Cent has a history of generating attention with such teases. Music, he deleted the post about the documentary shortly after sharing it. That is his pattern. He posts, he provokes, he deletes, and he watches the reaction. For now, the rap battle may not be happening, but the drama between the two stars is still very much alive. Music, and if 50 Cent really is working on a surviving T.I. and Tiny documentary, this feud might soon move from Instagram, music, and diss tracks to the small screen. King Harris is caught between a beef he escalated and a legal system he has been running from. His father is fighting a war on multiple fronts, and 50 Cent is sitting back, music, watching and plotting his next move. Whether that next move is a documentary, a social media campaign, or just more trolling, music, one thing is clear. The Harris family is under more pressure right now than they have been in years. And King, music, Harris, for all his bravado, is facing the reality that jumping into a fight with a man like 50 Cent comes with consequences that go far beyond Instagram comments and diss tracks. The situation is still unfolding. 50 Cent has not confirmed a release date for any documentary. T.I. Music has not stopped making music. King Harris has not stopped posting. But the dynamics have shifted. This is no longer a rap beef.